When I was a young man, I was cursed. This is how I survived. I led the way towards my house, and I could hear behind me how Andy's breathing became ragged and malformed. Glancing back at him, I could see his legs teetering slightly as he strained his head to look at each and every rooftop and shadow with sheer fright. There were more, now, and even though Andy was obviously having trouble keeping up, he wasn't the athletic type. With him by my side, I could keep my own mind clear. Home wasn't far, and it was much better to do this with someone else, even if I felt terribly scared that Andy had contracted the curse as well. Finally, we stopped on the opposite street to my house, and I said, "We're here," as I pointed at my house. Andy sat down on the curb. He was breathing so hard that for a moment I thought he might die. "Come on, you can come inside. Let's go, Andy," I said. We hadn't seen anything out of the ordinary for the last stretch of our run, but that left me with the gnawing uncertainty of them catching up. Andy's breathing finally normalized enough for him to speak. "That's your parents' house, yeah?" he asked. "Yeah, and they're home. Yeah. Come on, let's go, Andy. They'll catch up." "And how do we explain you coming home with a pudgy middle-aged man in the morning?" That was a fair question, and one with no obvious good answer. But I didn't care. The explaining was going to be better than sitting here, waiting for those things to catch up to us. "We'll pretend I snuck out to drink at your bar, and you ID'd me and found out I was underage, so you brought me home to tell my parents," I said hurriedly. Andy got up and said that's not going to work for a number of reasons. "But, listen," he said, his voice shedding off the fringes of fright to make way for something serious. Andy looked around the rooftops and the shadowy lawns, giving an extra second or two to evaluate the long road behind us. Then he turned to me and clasped my face between his hands, which had thick calluses that scratched at my cheeks. "I believe you. You're cursed. I thought you were just making it up. But as we ran here, I thought about it and what it means. I know you're not lying. Now, we probably don't have much time, and I'm not coming inside your house, so you need to listen to me very carefully." He let go of my face and I nodded, giving him my full attention. "Do you know where or how you got it from?" "The curse?" he asked. No idea." "Are you absolutely sure?" he asked. I didn't understand how that was so important. At that moment, to me, it was like the universe. It was there and we were in it regardless of where it came from or who had made it. "Unsure," I said. "Shit. Okay," he said, glancing over his shoulder to look at the street. "Here's what's gonna happen. I'm gonna give you some cash, and tomorrow you'll use it to buy yourself a bus ticket. Anything that's cheap and will take you as far away from here as possible. With the rest of the money, rent a motel room. Again, as cheap as you can find. Stay there and see how long it takes for them to catch up. Figure out how it works. Find odd jobs to get yourself more money, and buy another bus ticket if you need to. You figure it out and you make a plan, okay?" Something broke inside of me then. Andy voiced the ultimatum I knew to be true, but didn't want to accept. "But I need to graduate, and if you stay here you won't graduate. You won't get that far. You need to figure this out, and to do that, you need to move around. Learn how it works. Otherwise you'll be putting yourself and those close to you in danger." "And how would you know that?" I said, the words coming out as near screams. "I don't," he confessed. "But you said it's gotten worse over time." "Yes. That you can barely function at school, and you don't even see your friends anymore. And now, you've been staying almost every night at the bar for what, a month?" I nodded. Even if I wasn't aware of it, I was already running from them. Staying at Andy's every night was proof of that. "So it's safe to assume it's only going to get worse," he continued. "And if you have no idea how you got this curse, then you've got no options but try and figure it out. And once I'm gone you'll be alone at night. Think about that. I don't know how it would end, but it won't be good. Do you understand what I'm saying?" "Yeah, I understand." He pulled out his wallet and with shaking hands grabbed everything he had in the bill slot and gave it to me. There was at least $200. I pocketed the wad of bills. "Go home, and when you can, go get the bus ticket. The earlier the better. Figure it out. You're strong, Donnie. You can do it." The first slivers of light began to play in the horizon. I was about to say something to Andy, but all I can remember coming out of my mouth was nonsense. Words of gratitude and fright and pleading melted into a sobbing mess of gibberish. I must have been shaking, because Andy, even though he shook as well, grabbed my sides and stabilized me. He looked me in the eyes and said, "Good luck, Donnie." And I turned to go home. Andy walked hurriedly towards the rising sun. The next day, I did exactly as he told me. I went to get a bus ticket. I told the lady at the desk to give me the cheapest long-distance ticket she had. I never said goodbye to my parents. I never saw my friends again. The first year was the hardest, but it taught me some valuable lessons which served me well for the rest of my life. It took them around 2 months to catch up. Although this made no sense to me, I had to accept it as it was. Curses don't abide by natural law. And it coincided with Andy's theory, which, in my mind, gave it more validity. I doubted that the shadows used buses and road maps to find me, but maybe it was something more psychological. Like they wouldn't let me settle down. They'd tear down whatever life I tried to build, forcing me to abandon it before it even really got started. A false sense of security. Post offices, construction, and restaurants were the best for odd jobs. They always needed workers, and it wasn't unusual for them to have people come in and out. At the very least, I could get some money to sustain myself. No relationships. One time I got mixed up with this girl, and when she started to see the shadows, I had to leave her. I felt so bad for her, but what else could I have done? This curse was infectious, it seemed. It was smart and deliberate. There are 1,000 other rules and regulations I made for myself, but those 3, set in the first year, truly saved my life. Like Andy had told me, I'd figured it out, and I'd gotten good at it. And I guess I got used to it. The life, I mean. It was different and very lonely, but it was a life. And I got to see a lot of stuff because of the constant traveling. Silver linings and all that. That was all so long ago now. The first year turned to the first few, and then I hit the 10-year mark, then 20, and so on. The date I had left my hometown replaced my birthday. It was more important. It was my calendar, my sun, and my compass by which I regulated my life. I got so good at it that I almost completely stopped seeing them. I could evade the curse's corporeal form just before it manifested. Sometimes I'd think it had stopped, and I spent too long in one place. Then they caught up to me, and I was once again reminded of the curse. But I got better and better. So much better that now it's been 20 years without seeing them. The 20 years before that proved to me that they wouldn't go away. So, yes, I hadn't seen them in a long time. So long that I began to forget what they looked like, what they felt like. Until now, which is why I'm writing this story for you all, which is why I can once again recall their form and their movements. But now it's worse than ever. Old age has taken its toll, and I'm unable to run from them no longer. I'm sure my unorthodox lifestyle didn't do me any favors either. Never having a home, someone to come home to. I regret it all so much. I miss my parents, who are long dead, I found out on the internet some years ago. On the obituary, where they write missed by such and such, I wasn't included. I guess that makes sense. I miss Andy, the man who saved my life, but I hate him so much for it. Now I wish I had stayed. Graduated. I wish I'd told someone, tried seeking help, even if they couldn't provide it. At least my parents would have known what took their son. My friends could have visited me in the mental asylum, or attended my funeral. But now I'm stuck. I'm too old to run. So, after all these years of cat and mouse, they've caught up to me. I'm staying at a fancy hotel. I decided that if I'm to die, I wish it to be somewhere fancy. It took a lot of my savings, but money don't matter anymore. I don't have a will, either. Who would I give my money to, anyway? They're all around me now. They creep in the shadows, and stir me awake just as I'm about to fall asleep. They torture me in these diabolical ways, yet they don't attack my person. It's like they want to take their time with me. I guess after all this time, as they've finally caught their prey, they wish to make me suffer. Take their sweet time with me. They're no longer afraid of the light, of crowds. I see them everywhere. Behind the young man at the lobby who gave me my key. Crawling on the ceiling of my room. Behind the windows, scratching at the glass in long, searing streaks. Their pointed, long tongues scrape at the wooden furniture. Their long arms slither like snakes under my bed, leaving rusted stains on the carpet. Their bodies, made of gnawed, dark flesh, taunt me as they walk around the room. And their faces, oh God, their faces, like charcoal, with the sharp teeth of a shark, they stare at me, their bloodshot eyes round and unblinking. And soon they will take me. I'm sure of it. This is my goodbye. To nobody and to everyone. I never found out how I've come upon this curse, but I've fought it the only way I could. If you ever happen upon a curse like mine, do not run. Face it. It's better to love until the end than to wither away in desolation.